Welcome to the Empowered with Erika podcast. My name is Erika Vishkalis, and I'm an empowerment coach, mindset mentor, personal development enthusiast, and holistic health advocate. I've spent the last several years healing my mind, body, and soul, and have learned so much along the way. From healing trauma to navigating a sober lifestyle and learning how to step into my personal power, it has been transformational. If you are looking to heal, to be inspired, to uplevel your life, and become the most empowered version of yourself, you've come to the right place. I created this podcast to help you know you are worthy of rewriting your story and to help you navigate your own empowerment journey. You are worthy of living your most authentic, aligned, and inspired life, and I can help you get there. Whether you are diving deep into personal development or just need a weekly pick-me-up, I've got you covered. Thank you so much for pressing play today. I cannot wait to transform together. Let's get empowered. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Empowered with Erika. Your host Erika here, and I'm really excited to dive into today's episode. First, a little bit of housekeeping. I just want to say thank you guys so much for your continued support, for always taking a listen every week, for sharing it with your friends. Please keep doing so, sharing it with your friends, your family, on social media, and please feel free to send me feedback, things you're liking, things maybe you don't like or that you prefer, or topics that you want to hear about. I would love to start expanding the podcast, maybe having like a Q&A segment or just tapping more into the listeners and what they want to hear. So please let me know if there's something you want me to chat about or a topic you'd like me to dive into or question you want to ask. I would love to do that with you guys. I just need to hear from you. So if you have something on your mind, on your heart, if something comes up when you're listening to an episode, shoot me a DM. And as always, please share the show with your friends, your family, if you love it. If you don't love it, that's totally fine. But if you're loving an episode, share it because that's how we're going to grow. That's how we're going to get the word out. And I so appreciate that. And so in this week's episode, I was really thinking about, okay, what do we chat about? And I didn't even realize that we just hit year 3 since the pandemic started in March 2020. I don't know if I'm even allowed to say that anymore. With my luck, I'm going to get a little sticker on all the social media platforms of like, beware, talks about COVID, but whatever. So guys, I just wanted to chat about that because let's reflect, shall we? The past 3 years has been a huge cultural shift, a huge shift for so many freaking people. Like, so many people have had massive life changes since that time. And I'm not an astrologer, okay? I've been debating like if I want to get more training in astrology, but apparently Saturn is moving into Pisces, or just moved into Pisces out of Aquarius. And when everything happened, when the shutdown happened, it had moved into Aquarius. And apparently, with all the themes of Aquarius, this was essentially exactly how it was supposed to play out. Not saying the vid specifically, but that there was going to be these big cultural changes. There was going to be these big revolutions, kind of a deconstruction, a deraveling of things, or an unraveling of things. And I thought that was really interesting. This is why I love astrology, guys, because honestly, if you take a look at it, you can see so many things that align and that line up. Like, I am going through my Saturn return. There's some debate on when it starts. I've heard like 27 to 28 up through till about 30. And that's what that means is that's when the first time Saturn did a complete like rotation around the sun during your lifetime. So you have a Saturn return, from my understanding, in when you're 30. I could be wrong. I think there's one when you are like 14 and then 30 and then like in your 50s. I'm not 100% sure, but like the midlife crisis thing is your Saturn return. Apparently, like I said, I'm not an astrologer, but it's interesting how all these things line up. So I was thinking, how can we look at the past and use it to help us in the future? And I know a lot of people are going through various hard times. They're going through various things, or maybe they're just finally getting out of a season of hardship. And I just wanted to give this message of encouragement because let's look back at the past couple of years. We've had massive social changes, cultural changes. I really think that us having to stay in place and really change our schedules, change our routines, it changed a lot of people's mindset. I could be wrong, but from the people I talk to, my friends, my family, their mindset changed so much after quarantine. Some of it for the better, some of it not so much. And I think we saw a lot of people's true colors during this time period. And not just our friends and family, but those higher up, those who maybe have in theory authority over us, which I'm going to do a whole episode on that topic because I'm really fired up about it. So I think that's going to come in the next like week or two of how much power we give away to other people. And I know we just did last week's episode was all about reclaiming your power, but I just feel like our society as a whole is really this group of people that have all this quote power, but honestly, it's fake as fuck. Like they only have as much power as you give them, in my opinion. So, anywho, that's another episode. But thinking back in the past 3 years for me specifically, there's been massive changes. Massive changes. Moved across the country, got my first full time job. I ended a long term relationship, started a new long term relationship. I just changed so many things about myself. I started doing deep healing work. And all these things all these changes that I made all came from difficult moments. And I want to talk about that because I think a lot of times we get very caught up in the hard things that happen in our life, the things that frustrate us, the things that maybe bring some heartbreak, bring some pain, and we see it as these solely negative things. But I want to challenge that. I'm going to challenge that. As you know, I think life happens for us, not to us, right? But let's dive a little bit deeper into that. I personally think that sometimes our biggest breakthroughs and our biggest moments where aha moments, light bulb moments, moments of inspiration often come from the challenges, often come from the difficulty. And so I'll share with you a couple of different examples in my life. Like, let's look at the past 3 years and a little bit before that. So, when I got sober, I haven't really talked about it too much on the podcast, I don't think, and I'm not going to share the whole story. It's not really podcast appropriate. But essentially, when I decided to get sober, the thing that finally put me over the edge was I had a very bad night. I blacked out and I have no idea what happened. And from my understanding, I don't think I was the nicest. And I hurt people's feelings. And I did not like that because, to be honest, at that point, I had done some healing work, but I was still very much not healed. I had not joined ACA. I was in a toxic relationship. I just had a lot going on and I had a lot of healing work to do, right? And honestly, I was not consciously doing it, but as I've talked about it before, I had in the past used like alcohol specifically to numb, and it was socially acceptable, right? It was socially acceptable to go out and like have a good time, be young and wild and free or whatever. But I personally was not using it. I was using it as a crutch and to not think about my life. And so this incident happened and I just hated myself. I felt terrible. I was like, I don't want to hurt those I care about. That's not ideal. That is not the vibe. And at that point, I decided to get sober more for other people than myself. I really did not care about myself that much. I cared about how is this impacting those around me? And also I was like, if I don't get it together, I'm going to create major problems in my life. And that was something I obviously wanted to avoid. So that's a moment. One of my lower moments, one of my lower days really came from me just being in such a bad spot, in such a bad place. And that was one of the catalysts of my healing. I don't think I would be where I am today if I was still drinking. I can actually 100% promise you that because for me, alcohol lowers my vibration. There's no way I'd be able to tap into source, the divine. I don't believe I'd be manifesting what I'd be able to manifest. I don't think I would be taking care of myself very well, obviously. And so I just think that is one moment and one thing that I had this low moment that then went forward into better experiences, right? And so then another great example, let's like keep going. I moved across the country. As we talked about in the last couple episodes, I moved across the country and it did not end up looking the way I thought it would. And After that, a month in is when someone decided to try, or 2 months in. Yeah, 2 months in is when someone tried to rob me, and I did not feel safe. I was alone. I had pretty much no friends in this town, and I was scared. And I was like, what do I do? And that moment, I have shared this actually, but if you're new, maybe you haven't listened to that episode. The moment someone tried to rob me that night was really one of the big moments for me that made me realize, wow, life is so precious. Literally, someone pulled a gun on me. Trigger warning. Sorry, too late for that. But this moment where I really saw my life flash before my eyes made me realize, oh, I need to take this shit seriously. I need to grab life by the horns because I do not know how long I'm going to have here. And it also made me stop caring at all what other people thought of me, or it like very much made me realize how insignificant other people's opinions are, as well as it made me realize, you know what? I need some sort of spiritual practice. And at that point, I no longer align myself with traditional religion. And that is when I dove into my moon magic practice, and I love it. I don't do it as much anymore, but I still definitely follow the moon, follow the lunar cycles. I haven't been doing the journal prompts as much anymore, but I also think I've become so in tune with the cycles of the moon that I know what the different phases represent, and I follow it innately because I took several years to learn it and to really embody that practice, right? And that just was the catalyst for more healing. And as I did that, it made me realize, hey, I want better for myself, which made me, leave my relationship, which was difficult. And then that again brought more healing and more healing and more healing. And after my grandma passed away, if you listen to that episode, that really hard moment brought more healing and more healing and more healing. And within all these phases, all these hard moments are really what brought me to a point of needing change. So all these difficult times are what brought me to a moment of deciding this is when I need to pivot. This is when I need to make a change. This is when I need to take a look in the fucking mirror and realize, what do you want your life to look like? And then actually go and do something about it. It's one thing to say you want change. It's another thing to actually do something about it and to be intentional about creating that change. So when you're looking at these hard moments in your life and you're like, why the fuck is this happening to me? Why is this happening? Why do I have to go through this? Why do I have to experience this? God, do you hate me? Whatever you're telling yourself, I want you to try to flip that switch. And it is very hard in the moment. Trust me. Trust me. Because when I was on the floor crying because my grandma passed away unexpectedly, and an hour before I had dumped someone, I was like, oh, my life that I thought would be is fucking not the way it is. And I don't know what to do now because I feel so low, so alone, so scared. And it really put into perspective for me like what is important. And it put into perspective for me, I need to do something about this. I need to pivot. I need to make a change. And in that moment, I was like, okay, how is this going to create change? How? What is this going to do for me? And I know a lot of people think this is weird, but I am actually so grateful for the day that someone did decide to try to rob me, because it was such a catalyst in my life for beautiful, beautiful things. And it introduced me to Krav Maga, which one just brought a lot of confidence. I loved training it. I no longer train Krav Maga, but I did it for 2 years. Really enjoyed that. But it also brought me these great friendships. And these great friendships have been very important to me. And I would have never met these people if it were not for joining. And they've made my time in Arizona much more beautiful, much more special. And so, do you see how these things all happen for a reason? These hard moments where in the moment you're like, why is this being put on my lap? It's because everything is meant to teach you a lesson. I really do believe that, or meant to propel you in a way. And so this is actually a topic I've talked about in the past with a friend. Okay, we're going to do a quick drink break. If you have water, take a sip of water right now. All right, we're back. Sorry. Had to take a quick drink break and my throat was not loving me. So So, all these moments. I actually talked about this with my coach at the time, and what she called them was tower moments. And I love that. And essentially, it's like when these big things happen, and I may be explaining it wrong, but the concept is you have this unraveling or this disassembling in your life where it feels like things are falling apart, and you're like, what the hell do I do now? Okay, let's take those moments and realize that when you disassemble something, when you unravel something, when you take something apart, you are creating space for something better and newer to come in. You are creating room for what is meant to be in your life. You are taking out what doesn't serve you. You are taking out what isn't helpful for you. You are taking out the things in your life that are not bringing you to where you want to be, and you have the opportunity at least to replace it with something even better. And I had several of these tower moments in the last 3 years. What happened last February was a massive tower moment for me. It just shifted so much shit for me, both professionally and personally. I had a lot of these tower moments last year where I was like, what is this? Why is this happening? What is going on? And it's because this disassembling made me realize, okay, career wise, as I talked about, okay, this isn't what I want anymore. This is not the lifestyle I want. This is not where I want my energy to go. And also, this does not fill me up. This is not good for me. I need to pivot. And then on a personal level, for everything that happened there, which I can't get into, but everything that happened on a personal level, it allowed me to realize, wow, that was codependency. Wow, you really gave your power away in that situation. And it forced me in that moment, because I felt so alone. Even though I had great friends, I had Kyle, I still felt so alone because basically I felt like the rug was ripped out from under me in a way. And people that I thought I could trust, I realized, oh, no, 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 we can't actually. And this isn't shitting on anyone. People are just imperfect beings. We are all imperfect beings. It happens. Life happens. But it forced me to stop giving my power away, stop seeking approval from others, looking for kind of the gold star, the A-OK, yeah, you can go do that thing, especially when it's someone that you have looked up to or that you felt safe with. Once you no longer feel safe with that person, it can be really hard. And it definitely feels like you are having to completely shift where you put your trust. And honestly, even though it was so painful, I feel like it is why I now trust myself so much more and believe in myself so much more, because I shifted from kind of getting the approval of someone else to looking really only to myself for approval. Like, how do I think the situation should go? How do I feel about it? And it allowed me to take action in ways that I wasn't hearing, a judgmental voice or a critical voice, because this is, again, nothing wrong with that person, but they just haven't done the work I've done. And so there's still very much a scarcity mindset, a limited mindset. And I just didn't want to hear it. And I think I limited myself because I had this voice in my ear, a very literal voice in my ear, kind of being like, do you think you could do that? Do you think you should do that? I don't know. That's not safe. Like, stay in the normal, stay in the comfortable. And I realized, like, I don't need that shit because I believe in myself, and that is all that matters. So when you're having these big moments and you're like, God damn, what is going on? Think about what is maybe being taken away, unraveled, disassembled, and how can we shift our mindset to realize, hey, what's being removed maybe doesn't serve me? And to be honest, you may not see why it doesn't serve you right away. It may take some time for you to be like, oh, this is why it didn't serve me. This is why it needed to happen. Because trust me, in the moment, I was not thinking that way. I was more so like, what the actual fuck? And I was upset and I was sad and I was like, just trying to keep my life together, honestly. And then once I got past it a little bit, I realized, oh, this was actually, it forced me in a way. And I'm not going to say that this is for everyone or for every situation, but my particular situation, it forced me to trust myself. It forced me to radically shift how I looked at things, how I believed in things. And it truly allowed me to have more autonomy with myself than I think I've ever had before in my life, which is a great and beautiful thing. Of course, I wish I could have learned that lesson in another way, but it is what it is. So when you're having these tower moments, these unravelings, these difficult moments in your life, let's think about what is being removed for me to grow, and what do I want to do with this opportunity, and look at it as an opportunity. And so here's a good example. When I signed up for MBA, so Manifestation Babe Academy by Catherine Zankina, I am wrapping up the program here soon. We only have a couple weeks left, and it's been a beautiful program. I am absolutely loving it, right? I started the program thinking I wanted to manifest XYZ thing. And I really didn't even know what I was getting into. I just have loved Catherine's content, and I knew that she had a life that I aspired to live. And I really think you should learn from people that have been where you're at and been where you want and are where you want to go. You know, like, why would you get financial advice from a broke person? That doesn't make sense. She's a very successful business owner, podcaster, manifester. She's fucking incredible. And I was like, I want to learn from her. I want to know what has helped her. And I stepped into the program wanting one thing. And not one thing, but I had an idea of something I wanted, or a lifestyle I wanted, or certain things that I was striving towards. And I still do want most of those things. And I don't even like the word want because it has a scarcity mindset behind it. But I had the goal of I am working towards XYZ thing. But what I realized that to get where you want to go and to make that progress, the first thing you need to do is release a lot of stuff. And that is why more than half of the program is genuinely looking at your life, looking at your experiences, your past, and kind of unraveling it a little bit and taking a look at, where are my limiting beliefs? Where have I struggled with this? Where have I struggled with that? Or why is my mindset this way? And I'm not doing a very good job explaining it, but it's also super in depth. And I got very much, I don't want to say stuck, but kind of, I got stuck in one certain module of the program, and it was the release phase. And it's because I had so much stuff to release. I had so many limiting mindsets and so much that I didn't realize I was bringing from childhood, from young adulthood. And I just realized, okay, if I want a certain life, I need to make room for that life to exist. I need to make room for it. If I want, a better diet, I can't just add more vegetables. I need to take out the shitty food too. Or if I want to make a certain amount of money, I need to create the space for that to happen. And potentially, I don't want to say work harder per se, but I need to keep working. I need to expand. I need to figure out, how can I do that? How can I reach my goal? Or if I want to be in a happy relationship or in happy relationships, friendships, family relationships, not just romantic, right? I need to focus on the positive ones, and I think I need to let go of the negative ones. And I've, quote, lost a decent amount of people over the last 3 years. My friend group's completely different. The people I trust is pretty different. I have a handful of people that are the same, but I've had a lot of new growth. And I do believe that it's because they are meant for this current season of life. And hopefully many will go into my future seasons of life. But if I never took the chance on myself and allowed myself to feel the unraveling, to allow myself to, what's the word I'm looking for? To allow myself to really just sit in the hurt, sit in the pain, and really release it. Because if you're hanging on to stuff, if you're hanging on to the pain, to the resentment, to the anger, you don't make room for the joy, the pleasure, the abundance, the laughter. You need to make room for what you want in your life. It's not going to show up if you don't make room for it. It's kind of like, imagine, I don't know if this is just a Midwest thing, but imagine the junk drawer that I feel like was often in the kitchen. If you just keep stuff and junk in that drawer, eventually you're going to run out of room, and you need to clean it out to be able to make room for more things. Kind of like spring cleaning. We are coming into the spring season, right? We're in March. Aries new moon is coming up soon, which is the beginning of the zodiac calendar. Actually, by the time this releases, I think we will just be at the end phase of the new moon in Aries. And so I just want you guys to remember that if you feel like these past 3 years have been an unraveling of sorts, or these big tower moments or these big changes, maybe look back and look at what positives have come into my life to replace those negatives. Or maybe you're in the middle of the stuck, in the middle of the shit right now. Just remember that everything can happen for a reason. So, for example, my heartbreak caused me to heal. My heartbreak allowed me to learn how to truly love myself. The heartbreak of losing my grandmother really allowed me to be open to healing relationships with other people in that family. My difficulties with money, they forced me to transform my mindset with money and to learn about scarcity mindset versus an abundant mindset, which has helped me financially in many, many ways. And I'm in a much better position than what I used to be. I shared with you on my health journey. I forget, probably a couple months ago now, I gave you like a health update. And that period of illness is what forced me to pay better attention to my health and pay better attention to my body. My low mental health is what forced me to have to heal it. And I don't want to say force, but those low mental health moments is what drove me to go see a therapist and to go to ACA and to do all these things. So, and when I have failed is when I have learned the most. And it also really allowed me to take a look at my life and regroup and then move forward in a way that was more aligned. So, some people may be like, Erika, you couldn't cut it as an athletic trainer. Or Erika, like you work so hard for this life, like you gave up on it. No, no, no. No. I probably could have been there a long fucking time if I wanted to. But I realized that that was not what wow. Ooh, rewind. I realized that is not what I wanted any longer. I realized that I wanted my life to look a certain way, and thus I needed to make changes to put myself in better alignment for that. My quote failures have led to my best successes. Okay, these hard, difficult moments are what inspired me and made room for me to have all this beauty and love and joy and abundance. And of course, I'm still growing, I'm still changing. I am not perfect. Who is? But when you are able to look at the last 3 years and all the unraveling we've had in society, I would say some things have helped our society. And I know that a lot of people are in pain. I know a lot of people are scared about the current financial situation of the world. I understand. Trust me. But I do think it's a really beautiful thing that a lot of people, when they were forced to slow down, saw how important community was, saw how important their family was, their friends were, their health was, and are taking more autonomy and authority in their own life. I think that's a beautiful thing. So, how can we use these hard moments? How can we use these difficult moments to help us grow and to help us change and to help us shift and to help us pivot? When you have these hard moments, don't forget that the universe, the divine timing of the universe happens for a reason. Life is not happening to you, it is happening for you. And if you have that mindset, I don't want to say, oh, you can make the most out of anything, because they're in the moment that feels so fucking dumb. In the moment that's really tough. But when you're able to step back a little bit, I think when you're in the moment, just remember this too shall pass. We are cyclical beings. There's the highs, there's the lows, the good, the bad. The storm, what's the quote like? The storm will always pass, the sunshine will come, storms don't last forever. And I know that's annoying to hear, but it's true. And I just was listening to someone chat about this earlier today. And I think it's very, very, very important to remember that when these hard moments come, that we can use them to create the best moments of our life. So I hope that made sense. I would love to hear, how have you been able to use the past couple years to shift, to pivot, to create positive change in your life? I would love to hear how you've been able to do that in yours. So DM me, share the show, share the episode. I am continuing to keep uploading on YouTube. We will be caught up very, very soon. And I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you so much for listening. And don't forget, the past 3 years, we've had this unraveling. We've had these massive changes, and we're making room for new paradigm. We are making room for a new mindset, a new lifestyle. We are making room for new great things to come. So if you're in it right now, just remember, more things are coming, beautiful things are coming. You are making room for something even better than you could have ever imagined. Okay? Thank you for listening today, guys. Do not forget to stay empowered. Thank you so much for listening today. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you for taking the time to be a part of our community. Don't forget to check the show notes for the resources I shared in today's episode, and of course to connect with me on social. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at erika.vishkalis. You can also find me on Facebook at Erika Vishkalis. If you want to be a part of our online community, check out our Facebook group, Empowered with Erika. You can also find all of our offers and community links at empoweredwitherika.com. I always love hearing from you, so don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe, and tag me with your biggest takeaways from today's episode. Let me know what you loved and what you want to hear more about, and share it with someone who you think would love it too. I cannot wait to share more with you. I will see you next week, and don't forget to stay empowered.